Unfortunately, sometimes some of the immature ways that women can act with their partner is oftentimes a reaction to something you are not listening to. So when you take the place of a victim and you say, well, why are you acting like that? Why do I get this type of treatment? And she tells you it is something you are not doing. You would rather be defensive about how the woman is acting rather than say, oh, I didn't know there was a response to something. Tell me more about that. That is how problems persist. You must pay attention. Something is different. Why are you acting like this?
Being a woman, you have to have knowledge because sometimes she may act emotionally out of insecurity. And if you don't have the knowledge of how to upkeep her head as well as her heart as maintenance, you could be a good provider. You work hard and you bring your money home, but there are times when money can't solve human needs and problems that a man of wisdom who is not emotionally torn apart because the woman in his life is lashing at him for failure to observe duty. Most of our arguments are because somebody failed in a duty.
I don't like the word choice girly that he used. I think as far as being goofy and jovial, I think that just comes naturally when just being around somebody. Y'all could have a drink or two and start talking silly. I think with me personally, I think we like receptivity. I think that's the word that I would rather use as a woman who's more receptive. Because I think acting girly doesn't necessarily mean she's in her feminine. Doesn't necessarily mean she's on the same page as you. Sometimes that acting girly is really a manipulative tactic to act aloof, as if she don't know what the fuck is going on. So I think I don't really like the girly term. I'd rather just someone who's emotionally mature and receptive, because they can be girly all they want and do girly shit and still not really be on the same page as you. And I think sometimes that girliness is just a manipulative tactic in my opinion.
I just wanted to look at like the way that Miss Pearl was talking about it. It was almost like kind of an infatuation, an admiration, that kind of thing. If am I wrong, Miss Pearl?
No, you're not.
Okay.
I
So,
think you
but
kind of making my point. I think you're
Illa,
making my point though, because that infatuation, that's like a high. You know what I'm saying? That's like uh when someone likes the idea of you and not who you are. Because the infatuation wears off in real relationships. And then you got to deal with the real person. And then you got to deal with them holding you accountable for things as well. So I think that girly high, I think that doesn't have staying power, because we got to get past the high of what we think we are. And we have to deal with the reality of who we know we are and be grown-ups. So that's why that girly shit is really like some bullshit to me.
It could be subjective. It's the things, if it's going back to kind of like what DJ Fresh Maker or some other people were saying, like if it's speaking to the child in you, that's kind of like your emotional foundation. But again, it's subjective. I think everybody is right. Depends on the person or the actual woman. It could be manipulative, but if she's genuine, then that's an actual true side of her that she's displaying. But I'll
yeah,
land.
that's what I was gonna say. It's Illa, I could definitely see it being manipulative because I've witnessed that before, to where you act as if you are so into the situation in order to get what you want, but then there are, folks that are actually high on your presence. I I mean, you
Of
can correct me
course.
if I'm wrong. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can manipulate somebody if you are, under a high.
I mean, if you're high, you're manipulated yourself because you're high. A high is a
Yeah, that's what I.
manipulation of one's own mind. So it's already a state of manipulation. But sometimes that girly shit, I just feel like it's just very manipulative, because a lot of times they act like they haven't grew up yet and they still want you to treat them as if they're a child and you're not a child. So it's a difference between bringing out the youthful vigor in me, but then babying me because I never had that relationship. So now I want to relive my childhood. Like, no, nigga, we grown. You get what I'm saying.
Do you
But
think,
I'll put my opinion there.
real quick, if you don't mind, do you think possibly that that's the same sequence of events just played out in reverse, where she's girly to manipulate you, to galvanize you to do something, but the possible end result is if you don't do something, now she has a fit or tantrum out of disappointment. But up until that point, it seems like the same order of same chain of events, just played the tape backwards.
I mean, but the point is to what ends? Like a manipulative
Well,
person is what is
that's
the
the
result
question.
of that? That's why I say I'd rather a woman that's receptive and is emotionally
Understood.
mature because the end result of that is us growing. You playing these little childish games and trying to get me to treat you like you ate, that's not going to get us nowhere but separated. So I think that we can do a lot of things. The question is, where is it going to take us? Are we going to go to Disney World with you? Or are we going to be grown-ups and grow together and become adults and love each other on this level? But like I said, that's just my opinion. You know, teach his own.
No, I could dig it.
Yeah.
I didn't know so many men had a problem with women being wanting to be girly around their men. It's a very positive thing. Unfortunately, sometimes some of the immature ways that women can act with their partner is oftentimes a reaction to something you are not listening to. So when you take the place of a victim and you say, well, why are you acting like that? Why do I get this type of treatment? And she tells you it is something you are not doing. You would rather be defensive about how the woman is acting rather than say, oh, I didn't know there was a response to something. Tell me more about that. That is how problems persist. You must pay attention. Something is different. Why are you acting like this? And instead of asking questions, because oftentimes you don't even have to ask a question. She probably done already said it. But by the time she acts out, you don't want to ask questions. You instead want to focus on her behavior and play a victim to her behavior. So, but that's my response to what was said. But I want us to really focus on what Farrakhan was saying about the fact that women oftentimes, especially a woman in a healthy situation, even healthy situations can cause a woman to act out sometimes in an immature way, and you have to pay attention to that, because even a well-maintained woman, even a well cared for woman can still be neglected. Even the best man can neglect a woman. But we have to focus on the fact that something is missing. Something has caused a disruption for that woman to act like that. That's kind of my point. That's kind of what my point was earlier. Like, men have to care enough to listen to that woman, especially a quality woman, because oftentimes, even a woman who deserves the best treatment would still get looked over.
Can I ask you a question? Can the best woman treat a man
Mm-mm.
badly?
No, you can't ask me that question because we're talking about women right now. I told you that
I thought we
earlier.
were just talking
I'm
about people.
not,
I didn't know
yeah.
we were just talking about women. I just asked you a question. I'm just saying,
Okay.
can the best woman mistreat a man? Yeah, so that you just proved the point.
All right, so I'm gonna I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Children.
I think that we might be pushing back a little bit on the point about the females' behavior, right? When they were talking about acting like a little girl, I think it's kind of like just letting your hair down, right? Like it being free, not having to have the responsibility. And I would take that as a sign that you feel safe with me. It doesn't mean that you're going to go around and start, acting a fool. It just means like, damn, I could just be chill. And it's the level of trust that's necessary for her to even be vulnerable with you like that, right? And it could be sometimes a beautiful thing because it's a side of her that nobody else gets to see, right? And it is the ultimate symbol of trust. Um, um, I don't think that's what he meant when he was saying like she would be throwing tantrums and like that. That's wicked, and we're not dealing with that. But I think just her just being the word jovial was used tonight, I would say that's a good thing. And I don't see why we should see it as a bad thing if they're able to give you something that nobody else can. We have to understand how women really are and how they are naturally. And if we want to accept the good with the bad, a lot of times females can't show you a certain type of time because they don't feel safe showing you that type of vulnerability. It's usually been met with disdain. It's usually been met with a misunderstanding. And if we can get past that part to where we listen a little bit and just watch, once you start to figure out women, that's why I say practice is perfect. Once you deal with enough women, this type of shit won't really offend you. It's just a matter of understanding what it is that she means by that, right? If you understand, like how I was saying a little earlier, that sometimes we speak different languages. If you are understanding her and you'll be like, oh, okay. And I will feel good about it if somebody really could show a side that nobody else get to see, no matter what it is. And again, like True explained earlier, you might see snippets of it. It's not like they're just acting like a child around you all day and all night, but they get to be themselves, right? Just like we don't act the same around most women, and we're not vulnerable with most women because we're met with misunderstanding, right? Because they be like, "Oh yeah, you soft," and you can't talk to women sometimes about your problems, right? Because we feel like if once we're vulnerable, we're viewed as weak. So it's the same type of thing. It's just an understanding. So women, you should appreciate just as much if a man is vulnerable with you and he shows you a side that nobody else see, and it should be met with understanding. And if you don't, you could ask. And most of us are mature enough to get that part where if you're seeking understanding and if you have a decent approach, any sensible man is going to explain it to you.
But Trev, I think you're conflating because I'm not going to sit up here and act like nobody want no tough ass girl. Nobody want no tough ass woman. We do want a woman that's soft and jovial and all that, but that doesn't mean she can't use that as a manipulative tactic as well. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that we want soft women, but some women, it's a difference between a woman who wants to be vulnerable and the difference between a woman who wants to be treated like a child. And sometimes they can be conflated. That's all I'm saying.
That's
Yeah,
real.
okay.
But us as seasoned vets, that's why I say practice makes perfect, right? Practice makes perfect. Once you start to understand it doesn't take long for a person to expose themselves, right? At least me at my big age now. When in my 20s, I would have got ran over, and sometimes I did, right? Because I ain't had no XP. But at this point right now, my big age, I could sense that type of shit right away, right? And to be honest, the more vulnerable a female is with me, the more comfortable I would feel about that particular relationship, because that means that okay, she's able to trust me. That means that she's probably not damaged. I mean, she's probably, if she, whatever her traumas are, she's been healed from them. And that's
So
what
you
I
mean
that's
to
what I
tell me,
see.
fellas on the panel, every woman you've been with, you've never been with a woman who was vulnerable and it still was where some weird shit happened after the
Um,
vulnerability happened? Like that never happened to y'all? Like, come
no, it's
on, man.
happened. No,
All
real
right
shit.
then. So let's
I'm
not
not
act
saying
like what I'm
I'm
saying
not
is some
saying it never.
weird
I'm not
shit. I'm
saying
not
it never
saying
happens.
I'm just
I'm
saying
not
it
saying that it
happened, bro.
never happens,
You
right?
don't know until it
But
happened. She could be all of that shit. That shit don't mean nothing.
it happens, but at the same time, I don't want to go into a situation being cynical either, right? So
It's not
that's all
cynical
I'm
because you
saying.
don't know it. It may not pop like that. It might happen later. It don't always come off like that. We only get comfortable with somebody who we comfortable with. So you don't even find yourself. That's why when we go through things, it be a blind side because we already be cool. So it's not like you're dealing with a red flag. You're already cool with the person. You already got established. And then you get blindsided with some shit. Like y'all act like that never happened to you. I guess not.
When I
No,
entered,
you know how many times I said on this panel that I got ran over and turned into a supervillain, all that shit before I came around to like my understanding right now. All of this has happened. I've learned from those mistakes, but I don't typically make the same mistakes over and over and over, right? So once you learn, you get your XP, you get to sense this type of thing very soon. Most of us say they look at their person right away. A lot of men at least claim, maybe not you, because I don't know you to specifically say that, but a lot of men that say they know their wife right away, like they'll be like, okay, that's what it is. I mean, anybody who sees and they see these type of things, and I understand that women can show you a representative, but if you're asking the right questions and you got some game to you, and you be like, okay, you put them in situations. You give them your shit test early. This is stuff you can figure out way before you in trouble with it, way before you in debt with it, way before you dug in with it. And if you give yourself that opportunity and you ask the right questions, you listen and you watch, you're usually pretty good.
Yeah, that shit sound good, but I hear you.
Hold on, OG. Hold
Okay,
on. No, OG. We got to order. Go ahead, Willie.
I understand where Illa's coming from. Well, first, let me address the thing that Buddy said in the video. He didn't say anything that's unique or profound. It's common sense. If a woman feels safe with you, she's going to be carefree and do all of those things, like turn her brain off, like the lady said. That's a given. Just, all she needs to do is just warrant a man providing that safety to her, which is going to take something in return from her. No issue there. But to what Illa is saying, I agree. A lot of times women do these things as performative. But what I think that he's talking about is he's talking about the girls who act like city girls in the club and YNs when they get to the house. It's not like, and those are the women that we shouldn't even highlight, because I know that he wouldn't choose those women. He doesn't date those women. He doesn't tolerate those women. You can just tell from the frame that he's in. But when we talk about as saying that the majority of women are like that, I don't think that the majority of women are going to do things that are performative. And when I say the majority, I'm only talking about the majority of women that I feel men of our caliber would date. I don't think that any of us are going to go out here and seek these types of women. I think that we can all spot them immediately. And then more importantly, I think that we know why we don't want to fuck with them at all. Trev said that he knows a lot of men who has been like, damn, when I saw my wife, I just knew as soon as I saw her. That's probably true, but how many of those men are divorced now? I would say the majority of those men end up divorced the same way the rest of men do. The ones who took a year or 2 or 3 to figure out that a woman was their wife or someone they could marry. So, just the fact that some people are able to identify things they like in a person doesn't necessarily mean it's going to help them have, it's going to add to longevity in their relationships.
That's all I'm saying. It's I'm not trying to be negative. It's just like people can change their mind. Like you can like somebody for 5 years. Like we see people online. I'm not going to say men or women. I'm just going to say people. You see people just wake up and say, well, I feel different. Like I had a female friend that her favorite quote was, I'm new every day, friend. Like this is somebody who says I'm new every day. So I don't care how you interact with somebody and connect. If they feel differently, it's not always predicated on something you did. And we got to stop pretending that what turns men and women off is always something negative. Sometimes men and women are turned off from accountability and someone putting a mirror up to you like, yo, you be acting like this, and they will bounce. Men and women. It's not necessarily based on bad treatment. That's why I say that little kid shit, it be manipulative, because sometimes people love the fantasy, but when they get real, they get gone.